Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Daniel, welcome back. We are recording this right in the throes of week 0. We've got one game in the books. We've got another going on right now. There are going to be a couple more going on throughout the course of the day. We will, in due course, get through those games, give you some of those lingering thoughts as we get onto the Tuesday episode. But we wanted to put this one out now because we've got a schedule to keep. People want this episode on Sunday. By the time next week rolls around, you know the drill. Then we're really in the weeds. That's when we're doing our live stream at midnight out on the YouTube channel. That's when we're going to be kicking everything up into high gear. But we've only got this amuse-bouche.
Ooh.
5 games, one big one in the books that we're going to talk through here momentarily, Farmageddon. We've also got a very big interview that we're excited about, and we'll intro in a few short minutes. But welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. How many times in the last 5 to 11 days have you answered a question with, well, technically there's an interesting game on Saturday, but it's kind of like not a real week of football, but there is football, but the first real week is Labor Day Saturday. Have you said that 417 times socially in the past couple weeks?
I said that before I came downstairs today. When Kate was trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. Why is this like something that you need to record about, but it's not a full-on... It's a whole thing. So, yes, I'm with you. My guess is that the Verballerhood is with us as well. Thank you for stopping on back in here. Look, this is a very big week for us because we are building to week 1. We've got an episode on Tuesday where we're going to preview some games. We've got an episode on Thursday where we're going to preview some games. We're going to do our part to try and keep you up to date with all the latest storylines to get you prepped and ready, everything you need to go right into week 1, feeling like you're informed, feeling like you can make your picks. If you go on out to verballers.com, this is like our big push this week, Dan. You know it.
This is a big deal for those of you who are not afraid of competition. Continue.
If you're not afraid of competition, we've got a game, Run the Board. It's a pick'em game. You pick against the spread. All you got to do is sign up for one of our paid Patreon tiers at verballers.com. Once you're in, there's a pinned post, gives you the instructions for how to get in there. I've been helping some folks who are signing up and want to know what it's all about, want to make sure that their entries are in. So just sign up. If you're interested in playing, we will unveil our big week 1 prize on our next episode.
Yes.
But get in on the action now so that you don't miss your opportunity. Again, there is a season-long game that runs alongside the week-to-week games. If you finish in the top 5 at the end of the season, you get a seat on our coveted board of trustees.
Yes. And as I've said, if you are one of the people on the board, which turns over year, you get Ty for tech support issues that you might have in your life for your elderly relatives.
That idea.
Ty will diagnose printer issues 24/7. I don't care if it's a distant relative. I don't care if it's not like, if it's like, oh, that's Uncle Steve. He's not really our uncle, but we call him Uncle Steve. Ty is here, especially older printers. Oh my God, that gets Ty going. Oh.
Okay. That's enough out of you.
Okay,
Thank
continue.
you. Anyway, we're going to get into some of the games. We're going to get into our big interview with Dan.
Jenny Dell, CBS Sports. Very excited to have Jenny on. We, I think a long time ago, spoke to a Sideline reporter, but we haven't in a long time. I think she does a great job. The CBS crew does a great job, and I'm watching more of CBS Sports than ever because Oregon games are on CBS now. So I think they did the Oregon-Michigan game we went to last season. So
they did.
This is, it was very cool. We've already spoken to her, and I think she's great. So I think you're going to enjoy that.
It was terrific. Got a lot of really interesting nuggets.
Yes.
Out of this interview. I'm really excited for people to hear it. So that's coming up a little bit later on at the end of the show. We also got an incredible email that I have to read.
Of course.
I absolutely have to read at the end of the show. We need to figure out what we want to do with it moving forward.
Could alter the course, I think, from a financial perspective, from a spiritual perspective of the Solid Verbal moving forward. You never know.
Arguably the most important email we've ever received.
It could be argued. Hey, real quick, it'd be great if you could consider subscribing to the YouTube channel down below. It really helps us out.
So why don't we start here?
Yes.
Iowa State 24, Kansas State 21. This was the first game of the college football season. They played it over in Ireland at Aviva Stadium. as is like, I guess, our new tradition now on week 0. This is a thing that we're doing.
I think Belichick, if he's still with North Carolina, I think it's North Carolina next year, right?
North Carolina, TCU. So this year it's stateside, but next year they're going to be the ones going abroad and playing over at Aviva Stadium. So they're getting some good games. Of course, the one last year was pretty important.
Yes.
The one that we've had this season so far, I think is going to have big time ramifications, certainly within the Big 12. It was Iowa State's third straight win over Kansas State. I believe the 5th in 6 tries now for Matt Campbell, who has seemingly had Kansas State's number. It was a rainy day in Ireland, Dan.
Yeah.
We had some very wicked audio delay on the broadcast. I don't know if you caught that in the beginning, but it was a sort of like they were broadcasting from the moon.
Mm-hmm. Did notice that.
Not the greatest set. Anytime you got an international broadcast, you have some of these weird kinks.
Yep.
I think they got it fixed. But at
new
the start,
score bug, by the way.
Score bug, yeah.
For ESPN. I thought it looked decent. I think it's still a little bit big, but, they're working through it.
I'd imagine a rather exciting moment for you at the beginning of this broadcast.
When
Taylor McGregor referenced coaching staffs. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I didn't catch that. You told me about it. I was sort of not half watching this game, but I was audio on, audio off, so I missed it a little bit. But when you told me that, I'm influencing the influencers, Ty, once again. So I'm happy to do it.
I played it back. It was definitely a Stavs.
It was a hard V.
It was a hard V in there.
A hard LV.
We had the Stavs.
Love that.
So a comedy of errors. First 5 minutes of this game, we had a muff punt by Dylan Edwards. He got hurt on that play and didn't return, which is a bummer.
Yes.
We're going to have to pay attention to that one. Then K-State had a key interference call that went against them deep inside the red zone. It looked as if it was setting up for a touchdown drive for Iowa State. They subsequently fumbled a couple plays later. We had 4 turnovers, I believe, in the first half. It was an incredibly sloppy first half of football, Dan.
Yes.
The deeper we got into this thing, though, that's when we started to see it heating up. Like, this is when we saw some back and forth. We saw some drama, some gigantic short yardage situations that I think ultimately decided this one. A really big balls moment by Matt Campbell late, going for it on 4th and 3, trying to ice it. They connect with Carson Hansen for a 15-yard first down, got all the way down to the goal line, almost scored. So this was a very, very interesting game that started off rocky and sloppy and then picked up a lot of steam as it went on.
Yes. It was a slow start television-wise. It was...
Oh my God. To put it mildly, yes.
And it didn't turn me off, but it was like, okay, I'm excited to see how this game grows because it's a totally forgivable offense. Forget even the conditions on the field and the slickness of the rain earlier in the day. You're just traveling across the pond and playing. I think they got there Thursday, so it's not like they were fully acclimated. They were acclimated some. And in a stadium not intended for American football, so the sightlines are a little bit different than these guys are used to, but they have time. Everybody's playing on the same field. Everybody's dealing with the same conditions. But when you watch the first half of this game, conditions or not, you understand why coaches prefer scheduling down week 1. Get in a rhythm, get the cobwebs off. And there's just plenty of cobwebs. And the ball security was an issue. The decision-making was an issue. And throughout this game, both of these teams had issues popping bigger plays, at least until Kansas State did at the end. And I think Iowa State did a decent job through the air with intermediate passing, and they ran the ball better in the second half. It seemed things seemed to be closer to what we expected from these two teams in the second half. But yeah, there was a good amount of slop and 3-and-outs and drops, and I'm not holding it against either of these teams in terms of my perception. It's week 0 across the ocean. There were times where you're just like, man, Iowa State not getting anything done on offense, making mistakes, possibly giving the ball to the wrong running back in the first half a little bit too often.
Right.
And Kansas State really couldn't figure out things on offense for large swaths of time, though I think they ended up outgaining Iowa State both through the air, more efficient through the air. Thanks to that, I think it was a 65-yard touchdown pass later on in the game. They ran the ball a little bit more consistently, even without Dylan Edwards on the field. But it was those fourth downs. It was the opportunities that Kansas State had and couldn't capitalize on. And it was ultimately Iowa State with Excelsior near the end of the game, right? It was Taylor Mauser, the offensive coordinator for Iowa State. And thankfully, I would have been yelling at my TV, you don't kick the ball in that situation. Up 3, going up 6 with 2 minutes left doesn't do much for you, just in terms of the bad outcomes outweighing the good outcomes. So I was very happy to see Iowa State go for it. They had a play that they were pretty confident in. That's what Rocco Becht was talking about after the game. And they took care of business. That was an absolutely losable game for Iowa State that they pulled out. It was a well-coached, well-executed game. I was impressed with the offensive line as the game wore on for Iowa State. And Kansas State can win this conference. They can be just fine. But I don't know if I'm a Kansas State fan, if I'm thrilled with Matt Wells in this particular moment.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we track kind of what people say online, what fans of these teams say online, and there was a lot of disdain, let's say, for some of the coaching decisions, especially on fourth down. Fourth downs were an issue in this one. They were 1 of 4 on fourth downs.
It's not bad to go for it on fourth down, but you have to seem better equipped and better prepared, to me.
1 of 4, not a whole lot of faith in the kicker.
No.
The big one was later on in the game, about midway through the fourth quarter, they go for it on 4th and short from their own 30-yard line. Yep. They get stopped short. That sets up Rocco Becht scoring the touchdown, making it a 2-score game, a 10-point game, 24-14 at that juncture. Mm-hmm. And essentially that's what broke the serve. That gave them a little bit more wiggle room, and they were able to hold on and win this game.
Yeah.
So Kansas State fans, I think rightly, are questioning that move. I understand where they're coming from, though, because you got a guy like an Avery Johnson who seemed to come into his own the deeper we got into this game. I don't hate putting the ball in his hands. It just didn't work. And, of course, when it comes back to bite you like this, everybody's going to call it out. So, that he's going to have to answer for that. Chris Kleiman is. But defensively, I thought both sides played pretty well defensively. But to your point, K-State wore down in the second half.
Yep.
They wore down in the second half, and Matt Campbell in the postgame talked about how he thought his offensive line did a good job. We saw Carson Hansen get on track in the fourth quarter. 59 rushing yards in the fourth quarter alone. Yep. You tack on top of it that big 15-yarder that they got through the passing game on 4th and 3 that basically put the game on ice. They were able to outlast K-State in this one, and we started to see that become more of a thing the deeper we got into the game. It started to feel as if it were going in their direction more and more with each passing second.
Agree with everything you said. Really nice win for Iowa State. Really nice win for the underbettors who...
Oh, my God. What an all-time bad beat if you took the over. So we're talking about Carson Hansen.
Yes.
15-yard gain, 4th and 3.
Swing pass, a really nice play call, had room.
Had a linebacker matched up with him. It was a great call. Mm-hmm. Worked swimmingly. Almost got into the end zone. Was like an inch short.
Yeah, forearm kind of slid leading up to it. Yeah.
So rather than try to go for the touchdown and risk a fumble, rather than do anything that could really put them at risk, they knew they could take 3 knees.
Yes.
And just bleed the clock, which is exactly what they did.
Right.
As such, 24-21 is your final. The under hits. So they were right there if you bet the over.
49.5, I think, was where it closed.
Incredible.
Yeah, point total. And 45 points, like a foot from going over. And I think Iowa State, once again, as an underdog, does not hit the over, or it's not part of an over hitting. And it's one of the surest things in college football betting. Iowa State, and I believe Iowa these past few years, when they're dogs, they just do not score enough in a losing effort or as underdogs to hit that over or be part of an over. Kansas State has some work to do, has some cleaning up to do. I think they'll be all right. I think a game like this can actually be super helpful, much more helpful than playing, Missouri State or something to start the season. All due respect to Missouri State, you're able to self-diagnose.
They're going to have a 4-game stretch now of very winnable games.
Totally.
Where they could get all of these kinks worked out. I mean, even after halftime, they got better.
For sure.
And so I think, hopefully Dylan Edwards is okay. They can get him back out there. I mean, they ran the ball okay. Mm-hmm. Joe Jackson, but Dylan Edwards definitely gives him a bit of a new dynamic in the running back game. I was impressed with Avery Johnson. Yeah. I think it took him a little bit to get going, but I think he did a really good job down the stretch. Was able to create some of those explosive plays that we talked about on the preview, set up, I think, a little bit by the threat of him running. Like, that's where the double moves come in from the receivers and people bite down hard and then suddenly they're behind you. So we saw a little bit of that in this game. They were able to take advantage of it. I would expect we're going to see a lot more of it this season. And look, last but not least,
please,
the best of all Roccos, man, the Boar.
The Boar got it done. Help lead that game-winning drive
for
the game-sealing drive. Yeah.
I didn't want to get like too far out over my skis, but I'm watching this game in like the second quarter, and it just seems apparent to me, even though it was all defense in the first half, just seemed like he was the most in control out there.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like he knew exactly what he was doing, where the ball was supposed to go. He didn't always get a whole lot of protection. That's probably a secondary conversation down the line, but truly looked like a veteran in the second half. And, there's still questions about what kind of pop they're going to have out wide, but he was just so in control in this game that I was really impressed. And look, if they can get a little bit more explosive on the ground, they weren't really in this game. Carson Hansen had a big second half, a big fourth quarter. They were still like 2.8 yards per carry. So this was not like them blowing the lid off of this Kansas State defense on the ground or anything. But if they can get just a little bit more explosive on the ground, they're going to be a problem, man. They're going to be a problem. They're going to be a tough out all year long. This is a veteran team.
Oh, absolutely. My only other complaint was not enough cutaways to Anthony Becht in the crowd. Can we just get a shot of him? Can we just see how he's doing?
Man, Anthony Becht got more shots than Matt Campbell.
Anthony Becht needs to sell some shirt time to Visa, to what was the old boxing one? Golden Tee's the video game. There was, remember the boxers would get like the tattoos that would stay on during of like the old casinos.
Yeah. Right.
Now I'm forgetting. That's stupid for me to start bringing it up.
It's not Golden Nugget. It's I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Boxing. Here. Live Google boxing casino golden tattoo. That was Golden Palace. There you go.
Golden Palace. That's it.
And the other thing that just was frustrating, and it's not anyone's specific's fault that I can name. It was like watching a game on a field that was just in a pasture after like a minute and a half. And I don't know what the solution is, but if rain is going to completely wipe out an ability of a television viewer to see where you are on the field clearly, we need to go back to do some painting R&D or something.
Well, they painted at halftime.
I know they did, and it lasted for about 47 seconds. Yeah.
It didn't make a lick of difference. When guys were sliding, it was like they were on a slip and slide out there. I saw some people online were talking about it, calling it a slip and slide. That's what it was.
Yeah, it looked like they were painting with Alfredo sauce. It did not stick at all.
It just did not work.
No. So we got to go. The good people at Aer Lingus and Aviva need to get back in the lab for next year, because that was a tough visual. That's all.
As we come on the air today, we're recording this around dinner time on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Still a bit in doubt with this UNLV game. We'll talk about it.
Sure.
At some point on our next episode. They have just now taken the lead, but was a rough start for the Dan Mullen era. We saw a little bit of both Alex Orji and Alex Calandria as promised.
Anthony
got a lot more on the ground than really anywhere else, but bit of a slow start. For Mullen, there are, of course, a couple other games that we will talk about in passing on our next episode. Fresno, Kansas, Stanford, Hawaii, Western Kentucky's playing a game as well against Sam Houston. So we'll get into all that on the next episode, I promise you.
Yes.
But for now, congratulations to all the Iowa State people out there. It's a big Farmageddon win for you.
Yeah. A weird opening rivalry game abroad. Was pumped to see the support of Iowa State fans and Kansas State fans there in the crowd. Pretty cool.
Dan, without further ado, why don't we get to our guest of honor today, shall we?
Please.
All right, Dan, we are joined right now, first-time guest on the show. Her name is Jenny Dell. She is the lead college football reporter for CBS Sports. Jenny, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Are you ready for the season?
I'm so ready. It's crazy because I feel like this offseason flew by. And yet there's always so much news and information coming in the world of college football that I feel like it never really ended. So the fact that, week 0 is here, week 1 is coming next week, and we get to go back out on the road, I'm itching. I'm ready to go.
So walk us through your prep right now.
Ooh,
it's kind of like the last weekend of freedom, right? What is the Jenny Dell prep regimen at this juncture before things get crazy?
Are you ready for this?
Ready.
So I started prepping for my week 1 game probably a month ago because, that's just the way my brain works. I think the exciting thing, especially at the beginning of the year, it's fresh start. A lot of teams are just trying to figure out who they are, who are these new players, who are these new coaches. So I'm lucky to have Penn State again for week 1, which is a team I'm very familiar with. And I know I got Penn State here, but there are a lot of returning guys that I'm comfortable with and know their stories. So it's just diving deeper on them, and then also figuring out who are we welcoming in, what new storylines are we going to tell. So I think that, you do your research all off season to prepare for these games. And then right before week 1 of the season, it's just diving deeper into these programs, listening to the podcast, watching all the news that rolls out, scouring social media and seeing if you're missing anything. And then the week leading up, it's chatting with all the players, chatting with the coaches, talking to players, old coaches, parents, whoever you can get your hands on to try to make sure you're telling all the proper stories.
So once you get to State College in this instance,
Yes.
What's the move? What is your strategy once you're there? Do you have go-to questions that you feel like do a better job getting solid nuggets than maybe you did 5 years ago? What is the order of operations?
It's all a progression, right? So any job that you're in, the longer you do it, the more you figure out the right ways to do it and what also wastes time. So this season in particular, I'm going to try to focus in on what's most important and not just try and learn every little detail of every single player of every single team, because there's a lot of information that goes to the wayside. And I look at some of my scouting reports and my news reports from years past, and especially, this is my 12th season. So from a decade ago, and I'm like, how do I have 100 pages of notes? When would I ever get any of this information in?
Yeah.
And then instead of focusing in on the most important stories and really diving deep into those and making sure that you have the proper elements to make the broadcast better, it's like you're just overwhelmed with all this information. And I remember the first time I was doing the SEC with Brad and Gary, my crew, and I sent them my doc probably a night or two before the game, and it was like 50 pages long.
Sure.
And they were like, we're not reading this. Can you just give us, your 5 best stories and we'll go from there. So just this year, I'm really going to try to cut down on the amount and really focus in on those key storylines. And I know I'm going to say that now. And I mean, my notes are already 20 pages long for the week 1 game. So I'll do my best.
So what are the stories you like personally, right? There's a number of different angles. So you go to wherever, you go to State College, you go to UT in Ann Arbor, whatever. So are you zeroing in on a player because the player is interesting? Are you zeroing in on a star because that's going to be interesting for viewers? Are you looking for a feel-good story? Are you looking for what is it? All of the above. Okay.
All of the above. And I think that's the hard part, is because my job as a sideline reporter is to tell the stories of these players, tell the stories of these universities, tell the stories, the feel-good stories that make you want to connect with these guys. I want to get deeper than just the X's and O's always. And while that is such a key part to the game, it's my job to humanize all of these players, these coaches, these programs, these universities. So how do you tell those stories within a football game and have it make sense? I think that's the key thing. So for week 1, obviously with Penn State, with Nevada coming in, it's just honing in on what do people at home want to hear about? And then if there's a story that's out there, how can I dive deeper into that and give you some information that you might not know? So whether that's reaching out to a former coach, whether it's reaching out to Saquon Barkley about the running back situation and what we can expect in Singleton and Katron Allen this year, whatever it may be, try to give a different, unique perspective of something that you might not know just sitting at home on the couch. That's what I feel like is my goal.
How long do you have to tell that story? Are your producers saying, take 90 seconds, take 2 minutes?
Oh gosh, no, 90 seconds.
Take 15 seconds to tell us about
you
Saquon
got
Barkley.
20 seconds. You have 20 seconds. You're in, you're out. You have to be done before that ball snaps. Because if that ball snaps and there's like a crazy Hail Mary pass or there's a wild sack,
I was thinking pregame. Okay, fair.
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking in game. Pre-game, you have a little bit more flexibility. If you're doing a studio show, you have a little bit more time. But in game, I mean, I try to make sure I can tell the story in under 25 seconds.
Wow.
Which is not easy.
How many words is
There's
that?
a lot of information.
How many words is under 25 seconds? Are you typing this out?
I should know that by now. It's all in here.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I've always wondered this, and I imagine you're the right person to ask. What is the trick to getting like insider information when you are down on the sidelines? Because for people who haven't been on the sidelines, it's pure chaos down there. You can't see anything. And it's not like Sharon Moore is pointing to a guy's collarbone and saying, yeah, this is what,
check it out.
How do you go about, how do you go about getting all that?
Over here. Okay. So that's, first of all, you learn instinctually, you get trained in a different way to be almost like the eyes and the ears on the field. Okay. So you are on the lookout at all times for anything that could be noteworthy, whether it's an injury. You're like, that guy was limping off a little bit. I'm going to go run over and see what I can see. The hard part is obviously I'm not a doctor. You know, I have covered football long enough to understand injuries, but I never want to report something that's not true. So it's really just, okay, what are you seeing right now? And how do you visually explain that to folks at home? Because sometimes our cameras aren't catching what I'm seeing, or it's too late. And I'm like, they were looking at the guy's eyes, or they were, checking out that tweak in his ankle, whatever it may be. But also you don't want to speculate an injury. So it's a very fine line of making sure you're not reporting anything that's not true, but also just being honest with what you're seeing. So you have to trust in yourself and your instincts to say, all right, this is what's going on. And a lot of it also comes down to trust with the people that are on the sideline with you. So whether that's the school SID, which is, almost their PR people for folks that don't know what an SID is. It's the school information director. They're the ones that will give you some information from time to time, but a lot of these programs are going away from giving you any information at all. So it's making the sideline job a lot more difficult. In the NFL, you'll almost get a report that says, this player is dealing with a left leg injury. He's questionable to return. In college, you're not getting anything from some of these schools. So it's very difficult to make sure you're reporting on the correct things, and that, these kids' parents might be sitting at home watching, and you don't want to ever, especially with sports betting now too. It's like, you just want to make sure you're giving the proper information at all times. And a lot of that just comes back to trusting what you're seeing and trusting your own eyes. But it's hard.
Can you turn that off when you're at a restaurant and you notice like a first date going terribly in the corner?
Oh,
are you just constantly scanning for like life news?
Life news at all times. My husband's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, what do you think's happening over there? Like, can you just stop?
Guy with the weird eye. The vibe is off.
There's something going on over here. I gotta check in. Yeah, no. I try to chill out here and there.
Fair enough. When you're on the sideline, when there is somebody injured and they go into an injury tent, I just want to know the mechanics of the injury tent. I want to know who's in charge of the injury tent. I want to know if something has ever gone wrong with the mechanics of launching the injury tent. Has there been a tent incident?
There's been a couple tent incidents.
Okay, continue.
So again, not to date myself, but when I started doing sideline reporting, the injury tents didn't exist. They would just be laying out on the sideline, and I'm like, hey, this guy's dealing with a right shoulder injury. Now it's like you have to almost be a little FBI agent.
Sure.
And you're trying to walk by, but you also have to be very aware that you're really not supposed to be walking by the bench back and forth. So it's like this little game that we all play where you have to be respectful of the team and the player and the medical staff and making sure you're giving them their space, but you're also trying to do your job. So, I'll do a little pass by, and usually there's the zipper by the injury tent. So you might just, do a little, what's happening there? or you're listening, you're like, do I hear screaming? Do I hear yelling? That became a situation.
So you can report on screaming?
You you might get some pushback.
Okay.
So I was covering Bryce Young's injury. It was my first Alabama game, my first season on the SEC on CBS. It was against Arkansas. And I had walked by the injury tent and Bryce was upset and yelling, and I reported on that, and there was a little pushback on, hey, let's just make sure we're reporting on things that we should be. And I was like, I thought that was my job.
Right.
So you have to be very careful on what you're saying, and especially depending on the program and the university, sometimes you have to just tiptoe around things a little bit more.
I think I watched that clip, Jenny, before we did this interview, and I did actually have a question sort of related to that. Like, your job is to catch coaches, it's to catch players at some of their most vulnerable moments, right? There's got to be, I'd imagine from your side, some bit of voodoo with what can I ask and get an answer that adds to the broadcast versus what shouldn't I ask, what might be going a little bit too far, because some of these guys, again, you're catching them after a loss, after an emotional, like, it's hard. I'd imagine it's difficult to walk that balance. So, A, what is your formula for coming up with those questions? Is there a formula? And B, what is it ultimately that you're trying to get out of these interview subjects when you're down there on the sidelines in the heat of the moment?
I'll answer B first. I think in the heat of the moment, I always resort back to, my dad's a huge sports fan. That's how I got into sports. I always resort back to, if my dad's sitting at home on the couch right now, what does he want to hear the coaches say? What questions does he want answered? And that's the way that I form my question. It's almost like, what do I want the coach to say? How do I get him to say this? And how do I get him to say it in a manner where he's not frustrated that I asked a certain question? And I think a lot of this goes back to learning the personalities of the coaches and knowing how to work with them so that you're asking the right question in a respectful way, because they are a lot of tense moments down there, especially if it's coming after an injury to a key player or a loss, and just making sure that you establish those relationships. And that's something that was kind of difficult after working a few years in the SEC. You grow these relationships with these coaches and with these schools where they know they can trust you, and they know that you're not out to get them, because that is the last thing that I want to do. But I also need to do my job. So when we first started doing the Big Ten, it's just reestablishing relationships with these coaches. So we sit down with them throughout the week in different meetings. We're usually in front of them every Friday for production meetings. So they get to know your personality, and they know the ins and outs of why you're doing what you're doing and why you're asking the questions that you are. And also you bond, you form a friendship, a relationship. And there's certain coaches that you can ask questions to in certain ways. And then there's other coaches that I'm like, I would never ask a coach this question this certain way, because I know what his response is going to be. So I need to report it in a different manner. So it's just learning the personalities and making sure you establish a trust with those coaches where, we're all on the same page here. We're all just trying to report on what's going on. You're trying to coach this team to the best of your ability. I'm trying to broadcast this interview the best way that I can. So it's like a little bit of a tiptoe with certain guys, but you learn the way to ask certain questions to certain players and coaches.
Have you ever asked a question, gotten a nothing response, and been caught on camera making a thanks for nothing face? Because I say this speaking about myself. I couldn't help it. If I got a terrible answer, like, okay, thanks so much. Like, have you ever been caught doing that? Because that would be terrifying to me.
I feel like I have gotten pretty good at internalizing those thoughts. Going back to the Bryce Young situation, I post game, Alabama won. I asked Coach Saban a question. I used Bryce's name in the beginning of the question, but I didn't ask about Bryce. I said, your Heisman winning quarterback goes down and the rest of this team stepped up. What does that say about the depth,
resilience,
the versatility, whatever right? he heard Bryce Young, and then that's all he heard. So he came back at me and said, why would you ask me about Bryce Young? We just won the game. Why wouldn't you ask about the team?
Right.
And inside, I'm like, I did just ask about the team. Yep. I didn't ask about Bryce Young. But you're live on national television. There's millions of people watching you. So I'm like, yeah, let's talk about the team. Let's go. So, there are situations like that you just kind of have to take a step back and be like, don't show your emotions on your face. Just roll with it. But that's life, right? There's so many times that you want to go out there and say something and you're like, nope, not going to get me.
That's my entire life, is stopping myself from saying things I shouldn't be. Continue.
Did Nick Saban have the best camera instincts of any coach you ever interviewed?
Oh my God. He's amazing. I love that man. We have such ever since that situation, that game, we had a sit down, we talked through it, we got through it, and then we were bonded from that point forward.
But he's always looking.
You always knew where it was. Always.
The camera, the weird,
He knows.
He knows.
Yeah. He's a genius.
Another situation of yours that I recall pretty vividly, 3 years ago-ish, I guess, that very specific moment when you're on the field interviewing Josh Heupel after they beat Alabama. The crowd's out there, everyone's going nuts, but you've got a job to do, right? You're the professional down there. What is going on in your head trying to operate in a setting like that? Because it looked like you were having fun, but I got to think you were at least a little bit concerned. Like, am I going to get trampled here? What is the exit plan? How does this all work?
That was one of the coolest moments of my life. Being on that field and 100,000 fans storming the field. There's like fireworks going off. Everyone's jumping up and down. My only thought is I need to get to the handshakes. Like, I need to get to Heupel and Saban, because if I don't run out there before everyone else does, I'm not going to find him. There's no shot. So the second that I could, I'm sprinting out on the field and just running along all of the players, the fans, everything going. My mom, if you looked at my text afterwards, it was like, are you alive? Are you okay? Oh my God, I'm so worried about you. Why aren't you responding? They're taking the polls down right now, or the posts down right now. What do I do? I'm like, we're good. So there's so much going on. And I think in those moments, it's like you just feel so honored to be a part of it and to be able to be there, that you want to make sure you're asking, the right questions, you're getting to the interview that you need to get to. And once we finish the interview, my producer, Craig Silver, who's just an absolute legend, is like, okay, well, I need you to go find a player. And I remember jumping up and down, being like, Craig, I don't see any players. Like, there's no way I can find anyone else in this mess right now. And he's like, just get off the field safely. I was like, if I find someone on my way out, I'll let you know. But we have security down there that try to make sure that we're safe. But I just took a moment right when I finished that interview. And I'm not sure if you recall, but I handed Heupel a box of cigars after that interview. And I have this like clear moment that I will never forget, of him just like putting the box of cigars up in the air. And I just like spun around and took it all in. I'm like, how freaking cool is it that this is what I get to do as my job for my profession? And it'll never I'll never forget moments like that. I just appreciate it so much. And I just remember being like, this is going to be one of those moments that I'll never forget. It was so special. It was so special. But yeah, I mean, it's scary when there's people coming at you. And
well, Tennessee fans are notoriously reserved and gracious with their football views and emotions. So I don't, they get riled up, but they're notably harmless. That's the reputation.
Sure, yeah,
right,
no, I'm sure that's exactly it. Has there been a difference for you in covering Big Ten games versus SEC games?
I would say the biggest difference, and this has nothing to do with the actual games.
Warm hats. Yeah.
The weather. Yes, that's definitely one thing. Yeah. I would say for me, the biggest difference is, so every Thursday we fly in to prepare for the weekend. And this is a tradition that our crew has started, decades before. But I'll go out to dinner every Thursday night. It's myself, Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson, our producer Craig Silver, and our director Steve Milton. And all four of those guys are just the best at what they do. But every Thursday we sit down, just the five of us, me and the guys, and we have dinner somewhere in the town, in the city of the game we're covering. I would say the main difference that I've seen is when we were doing SEC games, those Thursday night dinners were packed and everyone was talking about the game that weekend. It was like the only thing that mattered in that town, in that city. That's it. With the Big Ten, I feel like Thursdays are a little bit more normal. They're a little bit more chill. And then Fridays, things start getting a little crazy. And then game days, Saturdays, obviously, are wild. But I would say that's really the only difference that I can come up with when you're thinking about, the change from the SEC to the Big Ten.
So then what are the restaurants in the Big Ten? You host Campus Eats, Big Ten Network. You see that, Ty? That's a pro transition. They don't teach you that in journalism school. You just have to have it in your marrow.
That was so good.
Thank you very much.
That was so good.
So you're around the Big Ten, you're around the SEC. Are there restaurants that are on your list that you have not been to, cities you have not been to? So you're deep in this world. So what is in your 50-page restaurant doc right now?
It exists. Don't you worry.
Sure.
So I think that's also one of the biggest changes too, is when we were doing the SEC, our crew had done the SEC for so long that they had their restaurants set. Sure. And then when it became, we're doing the Big Ten, Campus Eats. So Thursday nights, I'm in charge of reservations.
Great.
That's been another change. It's like, we're going to Ann Arbor. Where's dinner? And I'm like, what cuisine are we wanting tonight, fellas?
Yeah.
I'm in charge. And it's honestly one of the best collabs that I feel like I've been a part of, because not only am I excited about going to this restaurant, but from Campus Eats, I've sat down with the head chefs and the owners and the wait staff and everyone for each episode. We were probably at a restaurant for 12 hours. So I know the stories of these restaurants and I know the people that are there. So to go back and see them, it's the best. It makes me so happy.
So where in the Big Ten were you last year? Where have you been? Look, give them as much publicity. Being a restaurant owner and operator is tough in 2025. So give people one road place where you're like, if you're going to, Madison or whatever, this is my spot. You're hearing the dialing up. Yeah.
Okay, here. So there's so many places. I would say one of my favorite spots in Ann Arbor. Mm-hmm. Have you guys been to Frida's?
Yes, that's the Cuban Frita Batida.
It's like a Cuban fusion restaurant. That is one of my favorite spots. Like the food there is unbelievable. They're constantly churning things out.
Line out the door. Yeah.
Vibe. Oh, I would crush that right now. There's so many good restaurants. And the best part too is now with the 4 universities joining last season, we were able to do a season 5 of Campus Eats and really focus in on Oregon and go out to LA and Washington and do all that stuff. So I know we're going to have a lot of West Coast games this year on CBS. That's what we're thinking. So I'm excited to check out some of those spots too. But
by the way,
man, there's good food.
Hot tip, Ann Arbor. Ty and I went. There's a breakfast sandwich spot downtown called Iggy's. And they're just churning out breakfast sandwiches and coffee for hungover, 19-year-olds. And it is killer. It is great. Okay. And they're putting hash browns on sandwiches. It's everything you need for a Saturday morning.
See, food is like my love language. Yeah. I love to eat. I love to cook. So when Campus Eats even came about and they're like, we're going to do this fusion show of sports and food.
Yeah.
Hi.
No brainer.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you need. Where do you want to send me? I'm cool. Yep, let's go. Oh, it's the best.
I'm going to bring this, by the way, these two topics together. What do you eat before work, right? Like, you don't want to take chances. You probably don't want to kill her greasy breakfast sandwich before working for however many hours straight and needing to be, but you don't want your blood sugar to go down the toilet. So what is the move for you, for Brad, Gary? What is...
Okay,
what
so
is
you want a little
performance calories?
You want an inside scoop? And I don't even know if I'm supposed to really share this, but
I'm ready. You're juicing.
Brad doesn't eat at all before a game.
Wow.
At all.
So if he seems irritable on air. All right.
No, he does not.
No, I'm saying then we now have
He's
this
just hungry.
information.
No.
Yeah.
So, which is typically fine for our 3:30 kick.
Right.
But we get primetime games here and there. He will not eat all day.
All day.
If we have a 7:30, 8 p.m. kick, he is not eating a damn thing all day. And I'm like trying to force feed him, and he will not have it. He is
Not a granola bar.
nothing.
Wow.
Nothing. I don't know how he does it. It boggles my mind. I need to eat. I like to eat.
Is this just stomach fear from him?
No, I don't. I think it's something he started doing forever ago, and now it's just part of his routine.
Wow. Okay. So you go light. I assume.
Well, it depends. It depends on the mood. I'm a big bagel person. Like
Right.
I feel like that's always like a very easy toss me a bagel in the morning.
Right.
We're good to go. Halftime though, we get food during halftime, and sometimes I will crush. Like once the open and kickoff, and anyone in sports that works on the broadcast knows, once you're done with your open, then you're like, oh,
Okay.
now I can relax.
Yeah.
So there's times where if it's like a big game, a Big Ten championship, whatever, I'll eat light, and then I will have food right after the open. I will run over to my little area and just chow down real quick, and then run back out to the field.
I love the possibility of something major happening, and they cut to you, and there's like a burrito in your hand.
Well,
He's like, "Oh, Brad, real quick."
I did throw a burrito in someone's face a few years back. I don't know if you guys remember that one, but
No, what happened? Please elaborate.
oh wow, yeah, don't look this up. It was a early kick Arkansas game. It was an 11 a.m. I think kickoff, and Eric Musselman was the basketball coach at Arkansas at the time. And so him and his staff, they ordered thousands of breakfast burritos for the fans, because we were try to get the fans in nice and early. It's hard to get a college kid at an 11 a.m. kick, right?
Yeah.
So my whole story at the open of the show was about how, we're riled up. We're getting these fans here. It is a crazy environment. We're chucking breakfast burritos out. And then at the end, I grabbed a breakfast burrito and I turned and I went to throw it, but I was a little hyped up. I don't know what happened. Sure. And I threw it directly into a kid's face.
Yeah.
I mean,
welcome to the bigs.
Bullet breakfast burrito into this poor child's face. And then I didn't know what to do, because I was like, I just did that on national television. So what a sane person would do would be like, let me go over and apologize. No, I go and grab another breakfast burrito. And because I had to redeem myself, I had to show the world that I'm married to a former professional baseball player, and I just embarrassed myself on national TV. So then I had to show that I could actually throw. And then I went and apologized and made sure the kid was okay, which he was totally fine. He was like, yeah, I mean, you just fed me breakfast.
Did you then report on the injury status of the student who is questionable with the burrito to the dome?
I didn't realize how big of a deal it was. And then my husband messaged me and he was like, by the way, it was probably 5 minutes into the game. He was like, by the way, that clip already has 1 million views. So I was like,
yeah,
great.
Welcome to the internet.
Yay. Yeah.
That's terrific. I missed that. Or I watched it and 70 million things have happened since that.
Yeah, don't worry about that. You can find it easily.
Okay, so so from a technology standpoint, from a football standpoint, from a burrito standpoint, I guess, what would make your life easier doing your job? We've asked this to broadcasters who've talked about delays getting the video to their monitors. What would make are you looking for the return of who was it Booger McFarland who had the riser on Monday Night Football, so he had a better vantage point?
Yeah.
What would make your life easier?
So this past season, I was able, in seasons past, I would have a little setup on each side of the field where we'd have a little desk with a tiny monitor that I'd be able to go and watch replays. And last season, they were able to get me a monitor that would travel around the field with me. So I have a person assigned to me that is their only job is to follow me around with a monitor, which has been life-changing, because then for injuries, it's huge because now I can go back and be trying to find this kid, this player on the sideline. I can go back and look and say, okay, well, it looks like it was his right ankle, because injury happens. You might be on the other side of the field. You are sprinting. I mean, full on sprint to wherever their injury tent is. You're keeping your eyes on the field to see what you can see. But again, like I'm a little person and these players are quite large with lots of pads on. So you can only see so much. So to have that monitor there has been a game changer for me. And just to be able to recall certain things, or if there's a certain stat that you're curious about, during commercial break, they're able to put it on my return screen. So I'm able to know, okay, well, this is what's going on, or no, we got to get the running game going, whatever it might be, to help formulate a question for a halftime interview, whatever it might be. It has been so helpful. So I'm excited and hoping that we get that back this season.
I'm wondering what you're able to see and pick up on the sideline, not even injury wise, that it's just going to be impossible to pick up watching this from somebody's couch. Like, how do you pick up vibes? Like, how do you look at a sideline, look at a coaching staff and say, there's a nervous energy here?
Oh, you can tell.
Okay. I don't know. I'm a very stupid person.
No, you're not. So if you're walking past, and again, we're not supposed to stand right behind the benches. So it has to be a stroll. We're strolling past. I'm not looking at anything. I'm not listening to it, but you're listening and you're watching everything that's going on.
Right. But it is a subjective thing, right?
It's subjective, but you can tell the vibe of a group without question. Whether it's, coaches being extra animated, if they're yelling at the guys or if they're like, hell yeah, we're kicking ass right now.
All right.
You can tell if there's a difference of like get back out there. And, there's certain words that you're not allowed to tell and say on television, but there's a clear energy. Or if it's just dead, there's been so many games where I'm like, what are these guys doing? Just wake up. Get in the game. Someone get fired up. Where's the veteran leadership that needs to get these guys moving? Like you can feel that on the sideline. 100%. Or if the place is rocking and you have 100,000 fans screaming and the players are jumping up and down, the vibe of the team. You would be able to tell too.
I hope so.
You would.
I don't know. My brain isn't what it used to be. I still have the segues. I still have the transitions, Ty.
Still got that.
You're here for a reason.
Still got that. Jenny, we'll get you out of here on this. It is a notable season in the broadcast booth for Gary Danielson.
Oh.
So, I don't want you to be in the position where you're giving away the game, but all I'm going to ask is, are there plans to either surprise him, catch him off guard / celebrate before he exits?
It's funny you asked that. We went on a production call yesterday, just the 5 of us, Brad, Gary, myself, producer, director, and Gary made it very clear. I do not want this season to be a whole parade about how this is my final year. That is not what this is about. And we all said, well, Gary,
about that,
we're going to have to do something.
Right.
Sure.
And he said, if you have to do something, you have to do something. I do not want it to be an every game situation. So without giving anything away, there are a few things in the works. He deserves to be celebrated. He is just incredible at what he does. And he cares so much, not only about the broadcast, but about our team. And we are going to make sure that he feels very loved. But he has made it very clear he does not want this season to be about him.
All right.
I like that he took the attitude like, if you must celebrate,
because he knows we're going to.
Right. Here are some promo photos that I think really show me off really well. Yeah.
He needs to do what Keith Jackson did back in the day on the retirement tour, where every place he went, somebody gave him a gift. And then Keith Jackson, I think, came out of retirement after all that.
It's like, wait a second.
But, at least get your money's worth out of this.
Yeah, he is not that person. He does not want it to be all about him. And it's so just a quick side note. We had our college football seminar probably 2 weeks ago at CBS. And if you're in New York, you go, everyone goes to the seminar. If not, you Zoom in. So there was a question, should we all go to the seminar? And CBS was like, no, you guys can just Zoom in from wherever you are. Perfect. Well, we wanted to do something special for Gary. So they put together this incredible presentation just to honor him. And we had Vern came on, Allie LaForce, Jamie Erdahl, Tracy Wolfson, all of his former partners just, said a few nice things. Brad and I spoke. I was an emotional mess. And Gary surprised everyone. He had flown to New York and didn't tell any of us because he's like, I didn't want you and Brad to feel like you had to come into New York. And we're like, of course we would have come into New York, but that's just very much him. He was like, I felt like I should be here, but I didn't want to make anyone else have to be there. I'm like, you are ridiculous. He is one of a kind. He's one of a kind, and he will be celebrated.
Awesome. Her name is Jenny Dell, the lead college football reporter for CBS Sports. I think we're already over time.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's our fault. Thank you so much for being generous with your time. Is there a particular place this season that you are hoping to get to, or even if it's somewhere you've been before, you're excited to go back?
I am hoping to get to Madison, Wisconsin.
Nice.
Very special place to me for many reasons. My daughter is named Madison after Madison, Wisconsin. It's a long story. It goes back to Campus Eats. I love Madison, and I just want to do jump around.
Nice.
Awesome.
It is fun. I've done it. It's great. Madison is an all-time place. It's naming your kid Madison's better than like cheese curd. So
thanks.
Yeah,
I think so too.
Awesome.
On that note.
On that note, Jenny, thank you so much for giving us so much of your time. Best of luck this season. Have fun out there, and we'll have you back soon. All right.
Thank you. Love to come back. Thanks, guys.
All right, Dan. There we go. Jenny Dell.
It's great.
Lead college football reporter for CBS Sports, gave us some awesome anecdotes there.
Yeah.
The comment about Brad Nessler not eating is going to be bronzed and hung somewhere in this studio. That's marvelous.
I kind of get it.
Insider info.
I kind of get it. If you're going on network TV, you got to speak for 3 to 4 hours. You have to have excitement and energy. You'd like to have your blood sugar maybe accounted for a little bit more than 0 calories, but also the risk involved in eating the wrong thing. I get trying to play it safe. I just wonder if after the game ends and he signs off and thanks the crew and like, once again, it's Ohio State, blah, blah, that, when they sign off, it goes to like the whatever drug commercial and he's just wrapped in foil like a marathoner and handed a meatball sub. All right, Brad needs a sandwich. We're losing Brad. Like he's James Brown coming off stage after giving it his all. Needs an IV, B12 shot. I hope that's in my visual, in my brain, that like, okay, get him going. All right, good job, Brad. You did it again. I hope so. That's all.
Oh my God.
So a night kick?
That's brutal.
3.5 hours of broadcasting on nothing?
That's, man.
A lot.
Good for him.
Yeah.
He is a pro's pro. I mean, guy's a legend.
Yeah. Guy needs a turkey leg. Who's got Brad's turkey leg? Yeah. It's great.
That was awesome. Anyway, big thanks to Jenny for stopping on by here, giving us so much of her time. We'll have to bring her on again sometime soon. That was great. Yeah. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I meant to ask if she'd ever, and we'll have her on, we'll ask next time, if she's ever been wrecked by like a receiver sprinting out of bounds. Like, I think it's sort of a rite of passage for media people working on the sideline, but next time. Oh, well.
Next time indeed. Big thanks again for her time. One final note here, Dan, before we let the fine people go, if that's okay with you.
Are we done talking football for this episode?
Congratulations, Skippy. You've got mail.
You've got mail
on the Solid Verbal
bonus.
We get emails all the time at solidverbal@gmail.com.
Of course.
Some are better than others. Some are more preposterous than others. We got one here that came in. You and I were both sending it back and forth. This might be the best email we've ever gotten.
It's up there.
Hi, Solid Verbal.
Sure.
I hope this message finds you in good health.
Decent.
I'm Frank Imhoff. Definitely not a real name.
I know an Imhoff. You don't know an Imhoff? I know an Imhoff.
The attorney managing the estate of the late Richard Verbal. Solid, I was able to trace you through a family tree leads.
I love that.
That's not English.
No.
As the sole inheritor to the Richard Verbal estate.
Yeah.
Please contact me so we can schedule a time to talk. I have many questions about the late, great Richard Verbal that perhaps we should reach back out to this gentleman and see what he has to say.
I think we have to hear him out. You don't want to leave money on the table, Ty. The thing is about Richard Verbal is he founded Rivals.com. And
is that an alias for Shannon Terry?
I guess so. Is Shannon Terry Rivals? Scout? One of those.
I think he's all of them.
He's all of them. He is the founder of Rivals.com, Richard Verbal, and then named particular elements of the site with his last name. So solid, like the McRib, right? That everything has that McDonald's flavor, the Mc flavor. So it's obviously sad to hear he passed. So influential on everything we do. And eager to see if we were fortunate enough to be named in his will and testament. So
I'm going to have to respond to this afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm going to after we get off here, I'm going to respond and say, hey, what more can you tell us about the estate of Richard Verbal? This is a chapter. This is only the intro chapter to what could be a great series of bits on this episode and many episodes. So I would encourage the Verballerhood out there to weigh in, solidverbal@gmail.com.
And if we have any family law attorneys listening right now, how we should proceed. Absolutely, how we should proceed. What I was going to say is, if people out there have any ideas how we can incorporate the late, great Richard Verbal into the content of the show, I was thinking if we had any really bad takes that sort of die and go to heaven. If we have teams at some point that we just think are donezo, if we have coaches that are donezo after a couple weeks, all of them can go into the great college football beyond with Richard Verbal. Well, and you hope that at least on his deathbed, he patched things up with Barry Solid. And it was, like when Michael Scott met, I don't know if it was Dunder or Mifflin, the picture of him coming back to Scranton, that, they were able to, the accord was able to happen before it was too late. So, we named the show after one of the most successful partnerships in college football media history. And so you like to see it work out. I was sent, by the way, this is my final thought. I was sent. I had no idea.
This is so great.
There is an author, a writer, and a professor or associate professor at the University of Minnesota. And her name, and I am not making this up, and I'm sure she has heard it 70,000 times. Her name is Elizabeth Wrigley-Field.
Whoa.
Which is pretty great. I love
That's
a good name.
amazing.
It's no Richard Verbal.
No.
I think she writes for Slate or something. Elizabeth Wrigley-Field. That's all. Love a name.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's all I have.
If you are out there and you have ideas for how we can incorporate Mr. Verbal into the show, again, solidverbal@gmail.com.
But pay respects for Richard Verbal.
No.
He's no longer with us.
He's no longer with all due respect.
Yeah, of course.
We want to honor him
Yeah.
on the show. But of course, I'm going to have to email
Of
to
course.
find out a little bit more about this. It is a German email address.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm sure this is very legit,
Yeah.
of course. As I said at the top, verballers.com. The game is spinning up as we speak. We've got hundreds, if not thousands of people that have already entered. We would encourage you to go out there and see what it's all about. It is a pick'em game. You're going to pick like 10, 12 games a week, somewhere in that neighborhood against the spread. You get weekly prizes if you finish at the top. If you finish in the top 5 at the end of the season, you get a seat on our board of trustees. It's one of the most
No-brainer.
fun things we do all year. So check it out, provided, Dan, that they're not
Afraid to compete.
Thank you.
And look, the odds are you are absolutely going to bash Ty into the ground in this game.
I'm 0-1 already. I'm 0-1.
Same.
We're both 0-1, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So compete. Put us in our
Compete.
place.
The game starts up next Saturday, so you have a whole week to get in, to think it over, find out if it's for you.
Correct.
The first games that we are picking are kicking off at noon Eastern time next Saturday. So not the Thursday or the Friday game. So you got a couple extra days to figure this out.
Yes, absolutely.
Hope to see you there. Okay. Big thanks again to our guest of honor, Jenny Dell, today. We will talk a little bit more about some of these games that we couldn't get to on today's recording when we do our next episode But when we get to our next episode, we've got more games to preview because it's going to be a wild week of games. We've got 5 days of games: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Labor Day weekend. It is going to be awesome. I'm excited. For that guy over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Tyler Murrell. Talk to you all soon. Stay solid.
Peace.